Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, Bilal Reads, and I'm Bilal. So today I'm here to review another book that I read in May, and that is Dread Nation by Justina Ireland. And so I guess going with the theme of my other video, which was The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, this book is also a historical fiction. It could also be it's more like an alternative historical fiction. Yeah, I think that's a good word for it. Because this book, I heard about this book for the first time when I went to Books A Million, and it was marketed as imagining the Civil War during zombies, and I was kind of very hesitant to read this book, mainly because I didn't want the fact that there were zombies during the Civil War to take away from the fact that the Civil War was about slavery and all the horrors of slavery. So I wasn't sure if this book was gonna be kind of oh look, the zombies made everybody unite and forget about all the racial divisions that happened. One thing that I was surprised by the fact, because I didn't realize this when I heard the reviews about it. So this isn't set during the Civil War, it's set a couple of years after the Civil War, or after what was supposed to be the Civil War, but because zombies started rising during it, it wasn't really able to conclude anything because all the humans had to face the threat of zombies. And so it's set 14 years after that. Actually, I lied, it's set 18 years after that. I'm sorry, getting my dates mixed up. And it follows our main character, Jane McNee, who is also black. She's African American. And her time spent at this training academy to help colored girls, or mainly, actually not just colored, but just black girls become attendants, or train them to become attendants, which are people who help the elderly, white, rich classes defending and aiding them defending them against zombies. That's a word jumbled. So yeah, so she's basically at this training institute where their one goal is to be able to train themselves so they can serve white people. That's what it is. And she isn't really there by her own will. So in this book, the United States of America, or what's left of it, has passed this law called the the Negro and Native Re-Education Act, which requires boys and girls who are Native and African American to be sent to these camps where they have to learn how to defend themselves against the zombies, or in this book they're called shamblers. And then those people who survive or who pass the training have to go on and serve white people. So they're not given a choice in their future. And our main character, Jane, does not want that at all. She wants to graduate, of course, but then she wants to go back to her hometown and help her mama defend their home, Rose Hill. And so, of course, things do not go as planned, because they're in this book. The original setting is in Baltimore, Maryland, in the surrounding hills of the area, I guess. And so basically what happens is rich families begin to go missing, and our main character, Jane, begins investigating along with her acquaintance Catherine and her ex-boyfriend, I'm trying to remember, Jackson. There it was. I was like, it's such with a J, but what is it? So main character Jane, Catherine, and Jackson begin to investigate these mysterious disappearances, and they are caught. So the mayor of the town of Baltimore, he's like, oh ho ho, you've been investigating, well, now you're screwed. So basically, the mayor of this town is a member of the Survivalist Party, which is basically what the party of the slave owners. So, because slavery has been abolished by the Native and Negro Re-Education Act, and so this party, the Survivalists, believe that they want to return America to their pre-zombie glory of slavery. So they send our three main characters, Jane, Catherine, and Jackson, out to the west, to this new frontier that they built, in order to work there as basically indentured slaves, So they're basically sent to this frontier town that's been built that has this wall enclosing it, and outside the wall, of course you guessed it, are shamblers, or zombies. And inside the wall, these our main characters, who are all black, have to serve the rich white people of the town. And this town has a sheriff, and so the sheriff also is the law of the town. but the sheriff's father is the pastor. Who's basically he's like a fundamentalist Christian. He's batshit crazy. He uses the Bible to justify why blacks and natives are inferior to white people and therefore should be serving them. And I thought that was a unique twist on the aspect, because I feel like this might be a controversial opinion, but I feel like nowadays everybody likes to harp on like Islam is bad, and this book kind of also shows like the horrors of Christianity and how Christianity was also used to subjugate and enslave millions of people. Random political side note. But anyway, so back to the plot. So in this town, they have to avoid the wrath of the sheriff and the pastor. But because Catherine is very light, she's very white passing, Jane decides that she's going to be her mole in the white community, and so Jane passes her off as a white woman, while Jane is actually, because Jane is darker, she is given the task of defending the town. And basically what happens is it's like a political thriller / like zombie book. And so basically what ends up happening is while they're here in this town, Jane realizes that this town can't last because it has electricity, it has horses, it has all the good things of the time that zombies took away from them, but the cost is that it depends on subjugating the colored people, the African Americans and Native Americans, and she realizes that this town can't function. And also while doing it, they realize that these zombies or the shamblers are learning. We don't know how, because this is set in like the 1800s, so like modern day medicine wasn't in existence. But Jane is like, she's really smart, so she's been reading medical journals and stuff, and she's from her own experiences, and with the help of another white dude, I'm trying to remember his name. Gideon, there he goes. They're all so similar, but Gideon, who's like the town doctor, basically has been learning. He's come up with a vaccine that may or may not work. It's kind of left ambiguous. And he realizes that these zombies are learning how to communicate with each other. So where there's these large settlements, such as this frontier town that they're in, all the zombies can descend on it. And so what ends up happening is a zombie horde breaks in, and then in order fighting them, Jane realizes that they're somehow communicating with each other. But the town survives this first impact. And then the twist happens when the sheriff of the town, who has been slowly and surely been falling in love with Catherine because he thinks Catherine is a white girl, loses his damn mind when he learns that she's black. And so he rounds her and Jane up, and he's about to kill them when a giant horde that like nobody can fight, they either have to run or stay and die, comes into town. So there's like a final frontier showdown with my finger guns, but with Jane and the sheriff and the pastor. And of course Jane wins. She shoots both of them to death, does not think twice about it. And then while doing so, Jackson brings a letter from her mother, who basically has told her that all of the East Coast, or basically Rose Hill, her plantation, and Baltimore have fallen to this giant horde that has now started attacking the western frontier, and the only safe place is in California. And so basically this book ends with Jane saying, I'm going to go to California to be reunited with my mother, and then her and some other survivors of the town, such as Catherine and Jackson, follow her there. And it ends kind of like on an upsetting note, because like there's this giant horde that's about to attack, so they also have to like outrun this horde and defend themselves, while also realizing that as black people in like this type of America, they're still not safe based on the color of their skin. And yeah, so that's this book. It was really good. It was very well done in the fact that it doesn't just ignore the horrors of slavery. And in fact, like, we all know after slavery, things were still not great, and they still aren't for minorities in America. And this book does its own version of the Jim Crow laws, being the Native and Negro Re-Education Act. So this book, honestly, all my fears of it being insensitive to the entire aspect of like the Civil War was, in my opinion, for myself, unfounded, because this book does a really good job, and Justina Ireland, who is a black author, really dives in to the fact of how like black people have been continuously disregarded by American society. Yeah, so that's my review of Dread Nation by Justina Ireland, and I absolutely loved this book, and I really hope that you guys choose to read it and also love it as much as I did. So thank you, and I'll see y'all later.